I'm Steph Newman. This is Franklin Boulevard Media. I am originally from Virginia, born and raised, and have been in Gaston County for the last 16 years. Had made the decision to kind of move down to the Charlotte area, and when looking for places to live, Gaston County really stood out to us as a great place that wasn't too much in the city and also super affordable for us to be. The Gaston Arts Council came to me in a very circuitous path. I was recruited to serve as a board member and serve on the board of directors during kind of a period of transition for the organization. So really at that point, the organization was looking at figuring out, what our steps forward, what our path forward was going to be, and what the future of the organization looked like. So it's been a great time being able to help shape the organization and move that path forward. So I have been in kind of marketing and publicity. My degree is in marketing music business, and so I spent a little time in Nashville and did all of that, and then just life kind of took me out of it and ended up doing marketing for architecture and engineering and construction industry. And then after leaving there, I owned my own business for a while. So I taught craft classes at craft breweries in Charlotte for about 8 or so years. Really did that strongly up until the pandemic, and had transitioned to kind of online and doing all that, which was fun because I was able to work with folks from all over the country, sending them supplies and doing that whole thing. And then ended up, just going into a project manager position, serving as a creative director for other nonprofits. And then that's how my board service started, and ended up, just kind of making my way onto staff for the Arts Council. So the Gaston Arts Council has been around since 1979, so we're very quickly approaching our 50th anniversary. It's really the umbrella organization for the arts in Gaston County, and so what we do is we provide funding through the Grassroots Grant Program and our partnership with the North Carolina Arts Council, but we also work to advocate and promote the arts in Gaston County, and that's everything from visual arts to performing arts. So really, I would say a lot of the projects that we've supported recently, we support everything from performances of the Nutcracker for Gaston Dance. They give a performance each year to kids from Title I schools, and so we're able to kind of support them in that mission. We also support the Friends of the Library with their Live at Your Library series, and that's everything from readers' theaters to in-library performances of music and songwriters' workshops and those kinds of things. And then we also support organizations like Carolina Pro Musica, who does kind of pre-1800s music on pre-1800s instruments. And so it's really cool to be able to have that wide range of arts in Gaston County that a lot of folks don't know about. And so we're able to kind of help on that funding side to make sure that those programs are happening and that the artists that are kind of doing those programs are getting paid for them, and then also being able to help promote those as well. I think, the one thing with me being on the Gaston Arts Council that I have found is that there are so many amazing things happening in Gaston County that folks don't know about. I didn't know that we had an organization that played pre-1800s music on pre-1800s instruments. I didn't know that we had a symphonic band. We have a strings orchestra. We have a chorus. All of these amazing organizations that exist, but everyone's kind of in their own pockets and doing this great work. And so I think, the biggest thing to me is making sure that we're providing more opportunities, not only for the marketing of it, but I think just getting folks to understand that they're not having to travel to Charlotte or beyond for quality arts and culture experiences. Like, those things are happening right in our own backyard. And so really just getting folks out to understand, we have that so that they can be looking for those opportunities, but also, how do we get people to support those and understand that, art is something that it speaks to all of us, and so it's also something that deserves to be paid for, if that's a concert ticket, if that's things like that. And so how do we how do we kind of elevate that conversation and really get folks to invest in local? I think investing in our local art scene is really the big and key thing right now. I think, for both the organization itself and downtown Gastonia and Gaston County in general, like, we're seeing so much growth, and we're hitting this precipice of opportunity where I think, we're really only going up from here. And so I think, as an organization, we're, really striving to get developed more within the community and get folks to know about us and the work that we do, how we connect artists with opportunities, how we connect organizations with funding for programs, how we connect the community with, again, those things that are happening right in their own backyard. And so, that's kind of, for us, our main priority right now is connecting with folks and making those, I just say, connections. Again, that's all about community. But I think, for Gaston County as well, being where we're seeing so many people moving into the area, and not really necessarily having to see that as a bad thing, and seeing that as the asset that it is, because with more people come more opportunities, come, more diversity and more perspectives that we can all put together to make our community even better. And so I think, taking those opportunities and taking that knowledge and reinvesting in our own community, the folks that live here, work here, and keep them living here and working here, especially if that's in the arts, I think is going to be nothing but an asset as we move forward. The majority of our funding right now comes from the North Carolina Arts Council, and so we typically keep about, and that all comes from the North Carolina legislature. So, we're very fortunate to have folks at our local state house, in our representatives and our senators that fund these grassroots grant programs. And so, we keep about we keep about 20% of that funding for our own organizational operational expenses, and then we re-grant 80% of all of that into the organizations in Gaston County that are doing that programming. And so, that's our primary source of funding. Beyond that, we do fundraising and we write for grants, kind of like every other nonprofit organization. And so that, is something, again, for us is a key factor of where we're heading, because we would really like to see, our funding be able to expand so that we can provide even more opportunities. My goal is for us to, down the line, be able to have grant funding for public arts opportunities, to have grant funding for artists specifically so that they can, practice their craft or finish an album or, film a documentary, all of those kinds of things. And so, some of those things the grassroots grants are very project specific that we do. And so being able to expand that and provide opportunities that are outside of that kind of programmatic scope is really where I think we'll be able to see even further growth in the arts. My advice to, an artist, a musician, or anyone coming up, through school, it's no matter what you do in life, don't give up on your creativity. So always have some sort of creative practice, even if that is, playing at a wedding. You're still using your skills and being able to find joy in that. And so I think, that is definitely a lifelong thing, I think, for everybody. I think far too often we grow up and, we're like, okay, time to put the creativity away. And it's not, because the arts and the creativity that comes with that leads us into creative problem solving, all of those kinds of things. The skills that we learn through arts and creativity are, life skills to take with you. I think the flip side of that is to say that if you are going to be an artist, it is also important to sometimes understand the business side of that. So make sure that you are focusing on your writing skills and being able to, know how to fill out an application, know how to fill out a grant proposal, know how to explain what you're trying to do to people so that other people can see your vision. And that's where, some of that success is also going to come from for your art, because you know how to advocate for your art and you know how to speak to it so that others can understand it. And that is what's going to help you get paid. So I think it's a little twofold. You have to, no matter what path you end up going down, if you go down a business path, don't give up your creativity. And if you're going down that heavier creative path of being an artist, don't also let yourself lack on kind of some of those business skills as well, because either way, it's going to help you live a better life. We have a few spots still open on our board. We really are looking to have between 11 and 15 folks. We want to be able to represent all municipalities in Gaston County. So, you know, if you live in one of our smaller communities, or you have experience in fundraising and, you know, marketing and governance and all of those fun things, we would definitely love to talk to you, because we want to make sure that our board is well represented by our community, and that our board looks like our community. So you can find us on our website at gastonarts.org, or send an email to gac@gastonarts.org.